Hey everyone, it's BlueLizardJello, and welcome back to Dark Souls: The Daughters of Ash mod. This is going to be a very different episode. We are going to be bouncing from place to place from time to time, because this is the second to last episode, and I really want to try out a lot of things that we've been missing, as well as do some of the final steps before we actually wrap up this new game playthrough. So here I am, down in Lost Izalith, and I'm trying to test out some of the runes that I haven't played with. So here I am using the Scintilla rune, but I'm also using the Black Knight Greatsword because some people told me that you don't actually need a runic weapon, but I'm not so sure that that is accurate because I do a test here with several of them, and frankly, I'm not seeing any difference. So you can see the Scintilla rune not really doing much of anything. I should be trying out the Wraith rune here soon. By the way, if you haven't already noticed, this is post commentary. The reason I decided to go with post is for a number of reasons. One, I got to focus on the gameplay, but also because I was going to be jumping all over the place, this would allow me to continue with a single train of thought instead of trying to stick to a single theme and then bouncing and changing, and frankly, it just wouldn't have worked out as well. So in this episode, we are going to be completing a number of tasks that I need to get done before it's time to wrap up this new game cycle. That does include figuring out the rest of the statues. It also involves me finding the rest of those dark phantom bosses and fighting each of those, including the one that took me out last episode. It's odd how quiet it is when you're wearing this particular ring, or anytime you have the Hush or the Slumbering Dragon ring on, anything that muffles your own sounds. It makes the encounters very, very peculiar indeed. Just trying to get my bearings here. What I'm looking for right now is the elevator, because we are going to head up and kill the Phantom Quelaag. That is the plan. Now, with some of the bosses in the Daughters of Ash mod, you all have told me that they do have unique changes in their mechanics or in the way that their damage is impacted. But frankly, I guess I'm either killing them too quickly or I'm just getting lucky, and I'm not really seeing those proc. And that may be true of some of the bosses that we fight in this episode. You'll have to let me know, because frankly, I'm just not entirely sure of what to expect. But some of them are just like their former counterparts. I do love being able to one-shot all the Capper demons that we face. And yes, I am still using the Black Knight Greatsword, which probably means in hindsight I didn't give all the runes a fair chance, but I think that's going to be something that's really fun to test out in the live streams. We will be doing live streams. I'm not sure if I'm going to go right into New Game Plus with this character, or if I should actually start a new character altogether. A little bit more knowledge here for the new game cycle and then going into New Game Plus, that may be the way to go. Let me know in the comments. Picking up this Titanite chunk here, taking a gander, seeing exactly where we are. Now we're going to take the elevator up. But yeah, let's have that conversation down in the comments. Should I continue with this character? Obviously well started, and I did get most of the secrets, I think, in this mod. And should we go right into New Game Plus, or should we do a new character altogether on stream and go that way? Now, unfortunately, of course, I can't use the bonfire of the Fair Lady because stupid King Jeremiah decided to kill her when I was chasing down my spark. So instead, we're going to just have to go down to the Nursery, which is fine. Not the Nursery, excuse me, Fiery Cascades. The Nursery is the one that the bonfire is now out on. But at least being able to rest here is going to give me a nice shortcut back to Quelaag when I inevitably have to do more than one run back, but that's okay. The fight itself doesn't seem all that much more different and difficult. Perhaps she's more aggressive. I don't really know. Even her shockwave, I thought maybe they would increase the range of her shockwave, but I don't think that's really the case. But again, all of you are much more knowledgeable on this mod than I am, so feel free to share your comments. We also still have that one shiny left that Jeremiah had apparently dropped when Quelaag had killed him as well. So let's rush in. She's going to appear right here. No big deal. So the Quelaag, Heart of Chaos. And you can see, so far, everything's about the same. Still doing really good damage with my Black Knight Greatsword. Also, a few of you did point out that I was foolishly attributing the Black Knight Greatsword with fire damage, but this is Dark Souls 1. There was no innate fire damage with the Black Knight weapons. That did not happen until Dark Souls 2. So far, all the attacks are basically the same. I don't know why I didn't take any more lava damage there. Not in a great spot, though. It is very easy to get trapped in her legs if you're not careful. So there's that shockwave. Although I will say that the shockwave, it actually looks a little bit more visible in this than it did in the original. Or maybe I'm just making that up. I know they redid it for the remastered edition. Oh. And unfortunately, that jump there is not going to end well for me. Yep, so there's another death to Quelaag the Heart of Chaos, but that's alright. Right away getting in there for some free damage on both of our parts, apparently. Having 20 Estus, though, that is absolutely the way to go about some of these fights. Making sure I pick up my soul pile. It's more important to me that I'm getting my humanity back as opposed to my souls. Humanity is still such a tight commodity. So while this fight is going on, let's talk a little bit about why these phantoms are appearing. So when exactly was this triggered? Was this killing King Jariel? Was this actually killing Gwendolyn? I guess I'm more apt to say that it was killing King Jariel, and the reason I would say that is because he was the leader of the Dark Wraiths. The Dark Wraiths, of course, were worshipping Lord Kath, the primordial serpent. And so does that mean that there's a connection to Nito there? Is Nito connected to King Frampt? Or not King Frampt, but King Kath? I guess he's not a king, huh? I'm trying to piece this together because these do seem to be Gravelord servants. Gravelord servants, of course, serve Lord Nito. So help me to piece this lore together. Why are these phantom bosses now appearing? What is the connection? That's one of the things that I've always loved about this community. I've never been a lore aficionado. I've never one to really come up with any really good theories all on my own. But some of you have just come up with some of the most creative theories that I have ever heard, some of which I have now accepted as my own canon. Also, I'm definitely finding it a lot easier for all of these boss battles not to lock on. If you're still locking on, I completely understand. But when you are feeling more confident and you can learn to start playing not locked on, the amount of freedom that you will suddenly achieve is just absolutely incredible. The ability to aim your swings better, the ability to look back at your foes while you're trying to escape becomes immensely valuable. Watch out for this shockwave. And the trick to Quelaag, I guess both Phantom and the regular version, stay close to her face, and then as soon as she whips her sword out, you want to either hug the left or the right side of the spider body. It doesn't matter. But then you just want to time your rolls somewhat carefully. It's pretty forgiving. And then as long as you're to the side on the final jab, she should miss you pretty easily, he says as he gets stabbed. That was actually pretty good timing on the post-commentary part. But we nearly have her. Should only be 2 or 3 more good swings. Good hit there. And the finish. And we get an Eye of Death, but we also get the Pyromancy Chaos Storm, which is a fantastic little Pyromancy. If I'm remembering correctly, you don't get that until you have found Quelana in the base game. Not to mention 50,000 souls. Really, really good. And this was an interesting find. The Crown of Gold. So clearly this is Jeremiah's headpiece. We're going to take a look at that here in just a moment. Actually, we're going to look at the Chaos Dome first. Art of the Flame of Chaos, which engulfed the Witch of Izalith and her daughters. Erect localized chaos fire pillars. And then, of course, let's look at the Crown of Gold here. I have a lot of armor. I haven't dumped anything in my bottomless box because you all told me not to. Maybe it's safe to do now. Wrapped yellow headpiece worn by Jeremiah the Xanthus King imbues its wearer with majestic foresight and reveals the abominable children of chaos for what they really are. Only a fool would turn down such power. So we're talking about the children of chaos here, not just the daughters of Ash. And the children of chaos, from our understanding now, are Jeremiah's children. So there's something about this Crown of Gold that is actually warping his mind to see his children, his daughters, as something that they really aren't. And it's interesting because that harkens back to Demon Souls, where the old monk had this head wrap, and the wrap itself was the demon, not the monk. Came down here to Londo because I do know that the crestfallen warrior has gone hollow. I figured it is time to take him out, which is a bit of a shame, but it is time. And longsword and a heater shield, not too bad for loot. In fact, those are two of the best early game items that you can pick up, in my opinion. While we are here, we do have a couple of embers on us that I have been struggling to turn in, and several of you asked about it in the comments, so here we are.
What's this? Yes, I won't. There's nothing, we're both... Come back soon.
Trying to trigger him to take another one, and then I realized I think I only had the one magic one. Yeah, so we only have the one that he could take. We do have another one we'll have to turn in elsewhere, but that's alright. So now I just wanted to take a look and see what options do we now have available as far as modifying our equipment. Not too much, and I did want to make another runic weapon. So I had to kind of struggle to figure out what is the ascension or the modification path towards runic. It's obviously not just a base level weapon, but that's alright. Figured I might as well try something a little bit different here. Spending a little bit too long looking at my Chthonic Demon's Hatchet, which, by the way, as far as I understand now, because, spoiler alert, I have completed my first new game cycle, and this is actually, like I said, post-commentary. The Chthonic Spark is actually an ember that you can give to Vamos in order to create Chthonic weapons, which is pretty cool, but I guess it has some pretty strange implications as far as when Xanthus King Jeremiah is going to show up, who he's going to go after, because he is chasing that spark. So here I am actually looking at the unupgrade ability, the Dissension, if you want to call it. Basically, I'm trying to figure out again how I can get a runic weapon most efficiently, so I was trying to see if I had one that I could actually downgrade, that's the word I was looking for, to turn that into something runic. I debated the Bloody Greatsword for a little while. Of course, the Moonlight Greatsword would be fun to use, but it's not something I'm going to be able to turn into anything special. No imbuements, no modifications. I finally decide that I'm going to play with the Zweihander. Now, I only had enough Titanite to get that up to +4, not the +5 that I was hoping for. Because eventually I do realize you need to get a weapon up to +5, then convert it to magic, then get it up to magic +5, and then I think you can turn it to runic. If not, maybe you have to bring it up all the way to magic +10, and that might be it. I do solve that mystery eventually. So here in the Fetid Slagmire, the reason I'm here is because I wanted to kill some of the leeches for their green shards. But as soon as I warp to this bonfire, I am immediately attacked by a Capra demon. Not really sure why the demons are loose here. I did get the Demon's Hatchet. Granted, I did already have the Chthonic Demon's Hatchet, which is certainly an upgrade. Still lamenting the fact that I don't have the Rusted Iron Ring, which, by the way, Grimrukh did add back into the game, into Sense Fortress. I'll actually pick that up in the next episode, in kind of a little bonus clip. Because it was added after I started playing, but it was present in my game. It wasn't something I had to start a new character for. I'm also down here for another reason. I reached out to some of you in Discord for further hints about the last couple of statues that I had to unlock using the Pale Eye Orb, and no one told me outright, which I really, really appreciate, but I got some very clever and very creative hints as to what I needed to do. But you ready for another surprise? Surprise! Here is another asylum or another stray demon. Once again, no idea what they're doing here. I don't know why demons are suddenly being unleashed. I guess, if anything, it makes sense that they're here in the Fetid Slagmire, because we are so close to the Bed of Chaos. Maybe it's killing the Bed of Chaos that actually triggered the demons to be unleashed. I suppose that's quite possible. Speaking of possible, I was alerted to this series called Everything Possible in Dark Souls 1, where the player actually used throwing knives to take out these mosquitoes. And you know what? I gotta hand it to that guy. That is a pretty clever trick. So here's something that's going to be a little bit peculiar. So I don't struggle too much with killing this demon. But notice my soul count. I'm at 16,878. I kill this demon. And I stay at 16,878. He doesn't even drop any items. I don't know why that is. I can only assume that is a bug, but I'm not able to confirm it. Pretty strange if you ask me, killing a demon down here in the poison swamp and not getting anything for it. Another thing though, I'm using the Giant's Halberd right now, and watch what happens when I perform a running R1 attack when I am bogged down in the swamp. Large Titanite, not exactly what I'm looking for. Really need more of those green Titanites, but that's alright. But normally, the running R1 is this overhead slam, just like that. But when I'm actually in the water itself, you will see it in a moment. Oh, another large Titanite. I did get one stack of 5 green Titanites. Oop, that is not an Estus Flask. But not enough. There are a few more of these leeches that we're going to be taking out. I call them slugs, I call them leeches. Really what they are is they are leeches. If you've never seen a leech in real life, first off, probably keep up that tradition because they're kind of disgusting. I find them fascinating, but disgusting when they latch onto you. But these are very, very distinctly leeches. But there you go. You just saw the running R1 when you're stuck in the water. It actually turns it into a very, very fast attack. Something I really like. You don't get that animation though if you're using the Rusted Iron Ring. One of the hints for one of the statues was talking about how the statue description isn't actually referring to what you need to do in order to get the item from the statue, but it more so refers to the item you get from the statue, although there is a link. So they started talking about how you get the lithic bond, and that's okay, that's a fine spoiler, but lithic means stone. That's a word that, thanks to a good friend of mine who goes by Lithos, I knew that that meant stone, and so they made some sort of connection that maybe I had to resemble stone in order to get the item. Well, there's only one way I know of where I can become any sort of stone or any sort of crystalline shape, and that's by being cursed. Of course, that bow would have been a lot more dramatic had I not had such good curse resistance, apparently. Come on, Basilisk. And there it is. The Pale Eye Orb is quivering, all because I was cursed and I turned to a statue. Very clever. Very clever. So here I am in Allfather's Parish. I did already go back and get my soul. As you can see that soul counter in the bottom right. I am still cursed because I wasn't sure if curing the curse would negate the Pale Eye Orb quivering. I wasn't sure. So before I decided to cure it, I wanted to run all the way to the statue here, interact to get that lithic bond, and take a look at that ring and see what that might offer. I really do love these little mysteries, but I have to say that Grimrukh made it a little bit too obscure. And that's coming from someone who's been playing Dark Souls for a long time. Not that I've ever been particularly good at figuring out Miyazaki's mysteries, but at the very least, once I figured them out, I said, oh, okay, I get it. Well, maybe not to all of them, but for some of the mysteries in Daughters of Ash, I still don't know why they are what they are. And there we are, the Lithic Bond. Bonds wear with the earth. One of the 3 great forged bonds crafted by Sen, which are now presumed lost. The Lithic bond was sparked by a vision of a world of crushing stone and metal, immovable and eternal, and was worn only while the goddess forged her heaviest weaponry. You can see some of the changes here. It actually does increase my HP some, gives me some flame defense, some poison resist, even some poise there. Not too bad. Definitely sounds like poise is going to be the primary function of that ring. And now that I have interacted with that statue, I feel completely safe in using a Purging Stone. Now, the Soul of Manus. I read this because someone told me that I should read this and it might help me with some other mysteries. So I read over it and nothing stood out. Nothing. I was at a loss as to what they were trying to get me to do with this. Should I go and trade it? Should I try and use it with the giant blacksmith to make a particular weapon? But the only thing that really stood out was Dusk, because Dusk does not seem to be as innocent as she appears. So I decided that maybe I should hunt down Dusk, and we will actually carry out that task later on in this episode. But while we're here in Allfather's Parish, I do believe that there's a very real chance that directly above us there's another Red Phantom boss. This time, of course, it would be the gargoyles. And I will admit that this Red Phantom, or these Red Phantoms, I should say, gave me more difficulty than almost all the other bosses in this game, with the exception of one other, and frankly, I'm sure you know exactly who that is. You'll be seeing that towards the end of this video. No fog gate. Taking a look around, seeing if maybe the statues would come to life. I don't see them still on the bell tower. Definitely taking off my covetous gold serpent ring, not going to do me any good here. And they just appear out of nowhere directly above you, both already breathing fire. We have Reaper and Ransacker. I do love the fact that they got some unique names for these variants. Now, speaking of these variants, the differences that I have found are actually numerous. Number one, they definitely seem to have more health. Secondly, the second gargoyle does have full health, although I'm pretty sure that the gargoyles in the original mod also had full health. And they also kill you really quickly. Maybe that's not all that different. You can see here it took a few tries. And yes, I had bone rust. Here we are in a much lighter setup. You can see my souls down there. Now, one of the things that I wanted to focus on was the tail. Now, only Ransacker still has his tail. Reaper is the second gargoyle who still does not. But I was curious if there's a unique weapon variant, and sad to say, it doesn't appear that there is. But I was talking about some of the differences, and there's another one. Watch what happens when I get Reaper down pretty low, because I am going to focus on him first. And the primary reason was because I truly wanted to get the tail cut on Ransacker. Not only did I not get a weapon, I couldn't even get the tail cut, and I did try numerous times. You can see here, just focusing on Reaper. Some really good damage, though. Only attacking Ransacker when I think I'm going to get a tail hit, although that time I clearly missed and got a full body shot. They are definitely more aggressive and a lot faster than their original vanilla counterparts. Okay, Reaper is at less than half. Trying my best to get them separated if at all possible. That is a perfect opportunity right there, although I accidentally got Ransacker. The idea is get Reaper to breathe fire while Ransacker does some really slow overhead attack, and then I can go in with a nice running R1. Or just get hit by both of them and lose more than half my HP in a single hit. Really, I'm open at all options. Still no bone rust. As many times as I've been hit in this fight, no bone rust. Foolishly wasting my attacks on Ransacker. Well, I really hope I show it in this attempt. Maybe not. Great damage on Reaper. Okay, I think this is it. Watch what happens when I hit Reaper another time. Right here. Oh, doggone it. Just kidding. I killed him. So if you don't have Ransacker down to less than, I think it's about a third health, you can't kill Reaper. You'll continue to hit him, but it just won't do any damage. It'll even register a damage number, but it won't kill him. Unfortunately, that must have been one of the other failed attempts that I cut out. My apologies. But I did that at least 2 or 3 times, so unless that is a bug, it definitely seems like that is a feature. You can't just simply focus on Reaper, get him down, and then take out Ransacker. And there we go, getting the kill, 2 Eyes of Death, and a Geminate Vestige, which really just looks like a pair of humanities to me. Of course, let's take a look at that. It is not up where the humanity normally are. That's actually down by the soul items. Used to gain 2 humanity. Entwined remains of Saratha and Valak, inseparable traitors of the Way of White. Most undead believe Velka is merciful, but then again, most believe these murderous lovers were routinely executed. The third cleric involved in the parish killings was never identified. If these black sprites are truly humanity, then through what miracle could they survive such punishment? Who do we think the third cleric could be? Now, of course, it could be Petrus. I mean, we know that he is a traitorous, murderous cleric. But what if it was someone that we've never suspected? What if it was someone like Rhea, or even Oswald of Kareem? Now, granted, he's not from Thorlin like most clerics, but is it possible? I don't know. Now, the reason I'm here in Sen's Fortress is because there's another mystery that I've been trying to figure out with your help, and that is that of the transparent Black Knights. One of the hints that I was given is that all of the transparent Black Knights like to look out onto wide open vistas, big impressive views, so anywhere where they could get one of those is a good place to look. I had to scour so many locations and cut out hours of footage for me to finally track them all down. Fortunately, I did track them all down, and the result is something pretty cool. I'm glad I took the time. Through this illusory wall, I don't see any Black Knight, but it is a really, really nice view. Granted, if I had been paying more attention, I may have seen this guy before he started to come right at me, and look at the damage that he can do. I was going to try that parry, but I wasn't feeling confident enough, so now I really need to heal up. Of course, he doesn't care if I need to heal up or not. In fact, he's going to use that to his own advantage. That would have probably worked had I not been two-handing my sword. And there's the parry, but there's the miss riposte. He is so low on health. I decide to completely forego healing, and what a clutch moment that was. The action ring grows warmer. I do get the Black Knight Great Axe and a blue Titanite chunk. Not too bad at all. I am, at this time, very curious what's going to happen to the ring once I find all the Black Knights. I mean, granted, post-commentary me knows, but I didn't know at the time. And now I decide it is time to go and exact revenge on Dusk for what she did to Menace. Then again, the game does have other plans. Because now we have the Red Phantom Moonlight Butterfly, Mournwing, which is just such a cool name. Now, I really wasn't expecting there to be a Phantom Butterfly here, so I came very ill-prepared. Because it really seemed like Mournwing didn't want to land as often as the Moonlight Butterfly, and having only melee at my disposal currently, not exactly ideal. You can see that damage when I'm not blocking. Absolutely deadly. Not to mention, but there is a very different attack that I've never seen before. I'm only assuming that the mod has added it. See that here shortly. And all I'm trying to do is bide my time, because until Mournwing decides to land, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Or at least so I thought. Massive damage from that poorly timed roll. See, Grimrukh added some really, really cool items, specifically in the consumable soul arena. Because I do have ways that I can cast certain spells, and I can throw different consumables his way. For example, I have the soul of a blind wizard, which would have been great if it had hit. Completely wasted that with only 80 damage, but you can see good damage as long as Mournwing is on the ground. But as you know, or hopefully you know, when the butterfly is landed, what it's really doing, it's not giving you an opportunity to attack, it's feeding on the mosses and regaining health. So if you're not careful, if you're not constantly attacking, it can actually heal up pretty significantly. Getting more of these consumable soul items. It looks like that should do a lot of damage. Granted, I need to make sure that it hits. 180 damage, I guess that's alright. Although, I do have to stay pretty still while using it. I'm also wasting, or not wasting, but gaining a lot of souls every time I consume them. Only have Mournwing about a quarter of the way down, and really not doing so hot. And there it is, there's the death. So that other attack that I mentioned, you'll see that in the next attempt, which goes a lot better, by the way, because I go a little bit more prepared. First off, getting a magic blocking shield is so tantamount to winning this fight, and you can see the crest shield at a whopping magic defense is going to come in so handy here. I also do have the iron crossbow equipped, which doesn't prove to be too useful, but I can get some chip damage from time to time. You can see anytime those sharp projectiles are coming my way, I'm just going to block, but for the big orbs, I'm still going to be rolling past those. Those orbs do a lot of stamina reduction, so it's very possible that my entire guard would be broken and I would take damage through it. Here's the beam attack. Unfortunately, rolled just a tad too early still. You typically see that beam attack when you allow yourself to get that far away. $360, I'm liking that, but I only have one more of a Soul of an Exiled Witch. But at least I am using some of the new consumables, right? There is the beam. Actually, he used the beam when I was right up on him. But there we go. The beam attack is a great opportunity for me to get a shot off. Granted, it's only 144 damage, but it's my 144 damage. Beam attack, hug the wall closest to Mournwing or the Moonlight Butterfly, and just roll at the last second. Here we go. Free damage. If you watch carefully though, that red bar on their HP, or on her HP, does go up pretty steadily as long as she's landed. She does not regain while she's in the air, and I have her almost at half. Well, you can see there, I did block it. I did take significant stamina damage though, and a good chunk of health as well. Trying to bide my time, find my openings. Good. Take that, bridge. Anytime she flies over, I think it's only once she's down below 50% HP, that's when she's going to have that new move. And that new move is pretty scary. Oh, caught me in that roll. She ought to be landing soon. I don't think I've hit her with the Soul of a Pyromancer in this fight yet. Not even then. And here she's coming down for the landing. I decided to actually use the Soul of an Exiled Witch. Only 360, I thought maybe it would do more if all orbs hit her, but I'm thinking maybe all orbs did hit her in the first place. Great aim there, Silviarius. And there's that new attack. You can see the lingering hitbox, the huge AoE, tons of damage. Anytime she flies over when she's this low, you need to be very careful. Also, the beam attack, I did learn this the hard way. Can go right through the pillar. It is a good thing that I healed there, because she flew over and she unleashed that new AoE attack. But one more landing ought to do it, and she should be doing that here soon. Just waiting patiently. You can see that almost a one-shot in my current condition. And had either of those projectiles hit me, that was it for me. Free shot with my crossbow. Here's the landing. Oh, it's gonna be close. And we got her. We get the Eye of Death and the sorcery White Dragon Breath. So White Dragon Breath, suggesting that the butterfly is a creation of Seath, although I think that's already been confirmed. Sorcery developed by Logan during his infatuation with Seath the Scaleless. So it looks to be about the same description, but the real reason we came here wasn't even to kill some butterfly, it was to go kill Dusk. Sounds a little horrible, but now that we know who she truly is and what she is truly capable of, I don't feel too bad. I do feel a little bit bad at the level of overkill that I exact, but I'll live. She won't.
I am Dusk.
Yeah, we know who you are. Just want to make sure she didn't have anything else unique to pick up. And Dusk is no more. But in some ways, I feel that Dusk may have actually gotten the last laugh. She's a crafty one, that Dusk. I did get all my souls back. You can see I am poisoned, unfortunately, from the creatures here in the forest, but I thought this is another great view. And sure enough, here is the fourth and final Black Knight. This is the Black Knight using the halberd. And turns out I'm really rubbish at fighting the ones with halberds. And he is really great at finding out exactly when I'm about to chug an Estus. That was not even an attempted parry. Not a move you see too often. He is just having absolutely none of my shenanigans. And if I'm not careful, this poison and his chip damage, it's going to take me out. Even backstab fishing did not go as planned. But there it is. There's my parry and riposte. The Ashen Ring burns red hot. I get the halberd, the red titanite chunk, and I get Guinevere's ring. Now, I didn't just get Guinevere's ring. The Ashen Ring actually has become Guinevere's ring now that I have killed all of the Black Knights. So just curing my poison, and now we're going to take a look. I do take a look at the weapon first, but we are going to be looking at the ring's description here in just a moment. Yeah, it is the same description as far as I know, confirming that there is no innate fire damage. Summon the ghost of the disgrace, the true ring of the goddess of sunlight, light of Lordran, sister to the disaffected and selfish, daughter to the detached and cruel. The wretched knights blackened by kiln fire still long to atone, wear the ring of their princess to call them when retribution is at hand. So I have some ideas of when this ring is going to prove useful. In fact, I do end up wearing it when I do believe it's to be used, but I'm going to tell you right now that it didn't work. And I don't think it was a bug. I think this was another case where I actually killed the boss too quickly for it to take effect, which is a shame. By the way, I did run to Artorias' grave while I was here to see if there was anything new or if anything would trigger, and sadly it did not. By the way, fairly early on after I did the DLC, I was told that the reflecting pool had something for me if I had killed 5 NPCs. Well, I did a quick tally in my head, and I do believe I've met that at this point, so I came here to see what would happen, but I'm running all over, and frankly, nothing seems to be happening. Oh, but there's a fog wall. Someone's coming up behind me. And it's Oscar. I actually kind of feel a little bit bad about this. But Oscar of Astoria in a transparent ghost form just appeared, and now he's disappeared. And we have a vagrant that spawns, but not just any vagrant. This is the Twilight Vagrant. This is some sort of recollection of the sins that I've committed or those that I've harmed in my travels. Whether they are innocent or not, I'm not really sure, but here's Lautrec, the Embraced. I don't fully understand this fight, but I love this fight. I don't know, it's melancholic, it feels right, but this didn't make me too happy. The fact that I now have a summoned Artorias of the Abyss to fight. Good hit from him. And an even better hit from him. Okay. Take 2 on the Twilight Vagrant. And what is the first summon? Our good friend Artie. Hopefully I can fight this a little bit better. Granted, one of the difficult parts about this fight is that with the NPCs, you have no idea how much health they have, and I also think that they may be on a timer, like Artorias just now. And who do we have next? There's Lautrec again. And And once again, trying to kill him with some style. There we are. Vagrant appears yet again. Now the Vagrant can attack. He was not successful in actually hitting me at any point. But you can see, almost got him. And now we have the Crestfallen Warrior. Unfortunately, his chainmail is not enough to withstand the Black Knight Greatsword. Oh, and that R2 attack is just so disgusting. One more. And there we go. The Twilight Vagrant is dead, and we get a new ring, the Twilight Ring. Reduces visibility to prevent discovery. Ring formed from the vaporous soul of a phantom. The visibility of its wearer's body will wax and wane with time. Remorse can cut deep, but reflections offer no resistance to the hearts of the ethereal. So wearing this is essentially wearing the Ring of Fog, and I really love what it's saying here. Remorse can cut deep, but reflections offer no resistance to the hearts of the ethereal. This is the reflection pool. This is a place and a time to look back on what you've done. Were you doing the right thing? Now, granted, Lautrec, I don't know if there's a lot of question about his story and whether or not it was the right thing to kill him. Everyone else, I have my doubts. So I'm back here at the Sunlight Altar because I do have 25 faith, which means I can now enter the Covenant. I can finally get the Lightning Spear Miracle, something offensive in my Miracle Arsenal. Of course, I get the Praise the Sun Gesture. And I don't end up using that too often. But now here I am in Anor Londo, where we're going to spend most of the rest of our time in this video. Because, well, I hate myself and all of you and want you to suffer, just like I did. Because here we have Desecrator Smo and the Forsaken Knight Ornstein, which is essentially Super Ornstein, right away. Now currently, other than Ornstein being the super version, doesn't seem to be too many differences, right? Yeah, you're wrong. This took many attempts and a few hours to get this fight down. You see, Smo has this interesting tactic that at some point, he will actually start disappearing during the fight, especially if you focus on Ornstein. So here it is, Smo is now dead. I do have Ornstein, the Scion of Naught. So this is the second phase of the fight. You can see that Ornstein has actually gotten smaller, believe it or not. But he has arguably also become a lot more dangerous. His attacks have massive reach, massive AoE, and he's a lot faster, it seems. So here again, I am trying to kill Ornstein, the Scion of Naught. But that's just not working out. So I decide, what if I actually kill Ornstein first? Well, then we have Sun Eater Smo. Sun Eater Smo, really the most dangerous thing about him are the huge AoE explosions and the lingering hitboxes. But after you've seen a death montage, when you start at the beginning of the fight, you know what time it is. It's time for my successful version of the fight. And I am still convinced that killing Ornstein first and then Smo second is the right way to go. Of course, for my next go round, I should definitely do something different in order to see what else I can get. Luckily, Ornstein, as long as you give him distance, he will continue to spam his lightning attacks, which are fairly easy to dodge. You just have to worry about the shovels. Good hit there, good dodge. The biggest concern is when Smo starts to disappear, because you don't know exactly where he is going to pop up at any given time. And normally, it's right when I decide to try and attack Ornstein. This fight gave me a lot of trouble. It really did. I am completely okay admitting that, but I'm also okay admitting that despite all the difficulties it gave me, I had a lot of fun with it. at least in the end. It felt challenging but fair. I've always thought that this is one of those dual boss fights that felt well balanced, if that's a good word to use for ONS. It never felt like it was cheap, it never felt like it was impossible. It simply felt like you needed to be aware of 2 enemies instead of 1. But they did give you chances for attacks. So you can see Smo is now invisible. Every now and then you'll see I just run into him. And there he is, suddenly appearing. He'll do 1 swing and then he's out of here. He will come back in full force occasionally, but then he can disappear again as well. Never want to stay still for too long for that reason right there. Almost have Ornstein down. Very easy to think though that you have this fight in the bag. One more hit though ought to take out Ornstein. And there he is. So now we have Sun Eater Smo. Sadly, there's no really cool animation for the second phase like there is in the vanilla fight. But that's alright. So with Sun Eater Smo, he can also turn invisible, just like he could in the first phase. But as you've already seen once before, some of his attacks have massive, massive area of effect explosions. Thought that I was hugging him close enough to avoid that. Unfortunately not. There he is going invisible. Often he turns invisible after his shovel attacks. So for anyone struggling to fight Smo, whether it's Sun Eater Smo, Super Smo, or just the regular Smo, honestly, if you have the opportunity, staying really close to him is most certainly the way to go about it. A lot of his attacks will completely miss you. There he is going invisible, but we're doing all right here. Good hit, good stagger. Staying nice and close. 2 hits is enough for a good stagger as well. There he is turning invisible again. Still love that running R1, hasn't let me down yet. And with that big overhead, you don't even need to dodge like I did. You can walk around it, but there we go. We finally defeated the Red Phantom, Ornstein Smo, 3 Eyes of Death, and the Miracle Escape Death, which, yes, is as cool as it sounds. Sadly, it takes a lot more faith than I have available. What I don't know yet is, do I get something else if I kill Ornstein second? So that's something we have to play around with. A lost miracle foreign to the Way of White. While active, no losses are incurred upon death. The Way of White recognizes death itself, but admonishes the undead. It is for this very reason that this miracle was lost. You can see it requires 32 faith to use. I only have 25, and the chances of me leveling up 7 more times, frankly, they are slim to none at this juncture. But certainly in the next go-around, we will have to kill Smo first, Ornstein second, to see if there is anything else to be obtained. But that is going to do it for this episode of Dark Souls, the Daughters of Ash mod. We are so close to the end. We have 1 episode remaining, and then we will have to start our live stream. But I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.